You know the feeling. You leave a conversation with a specific coworker feeling confused, drained, or suddenly responsible for a task that wasn't yours to begin with. You might feel like you're walking on eggshells or that your words are constantly being twisted. If this sounds familiar, you aren't just dealing with a difficult personality, you are likely dealing with workplace manipulation. Manipulation in the office isn't just annoying, it's a calculated attempt to bypass your boundaries for someone else's gain. Today, we are going into the psychology of why this happens, and, more importantly, I'm giving you an evidence based toolkit to shut it down. We're going to cover exactly what to say to regain control of your professional space. Before we get to the scripts, we have to understand what we're fighting. Psychologists often point to a concept called the dark triad: narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy as the extreme end of this behavior. But in the average office, it's usually more subtle. Common tactics include gaslighting, where they make you doubt your own memory of an event, the guilt trip, where they frame their workload as your responsibility, and triangulation, where they play two colleagues against each other to stay in control. Research in organizational psychology shows that manipulation thrives in environments where ambiguity, power, imbalance, and emotional labor are high, especially for women and high performers. Manipulation works not because you're weak, but because your brain is wired for cooperation and social harmony. Our goal today is to remove that ambiguity. We are going to move from vague and emotional to precise and professional. Let's start with what manipulation actually is. Manipulation at work is any behavior designed to control your actions while avoiding direct responsibility. It often shows up as guilt, pressure, selective information, false urgency, or emotional distortion. Common examples include, I guess I'll just do it myself since no one else has time. Leadership really expects this to be done today. I thought you'd be more of a team player. Everyone else already agreed. Neuroscience helps explain why this works. Studies on social threat and the nervous system show that subtle social pressure activates the same brain regions as physical threat. Your body reacts before your logic does. You feel the urge to comply, explain, or smooth things over, often automatically. That urge is not intuition, it's a stress response. So, the first rule of handling a manipulative coworker is this: slow the interaction down. Manipulation relies on speed, emotional momentum, and silence. Your power is the pause. Here's what to say when someone creates false urgency. Instead of reacting, say, let me take a look at my current priorities and get back to you. Why this works. Research on decision making shows that pauses interrupt emotional hijacking and restore executive function. You're not refusing, you're reclaiming time. If they push again, you say, I'm not able to commit to that right now. No explanation, no apology. Now let's talk about guilt based manipulation. This often sounds like, I stayed late last time, so I thought you would help this time. Or, we're all making sacrifices. Here's the evidence based truth. Guilt is a powerful compliance trigger, but it has no correlation with fairness or effectiveness at work. So your response needs to be neutral, not emotional. Try this. I won't be able to take that on. If they persist, I understand this is important to you. It's still not something I can take on. Notice what's missing. No justification, no emotional engagement, no debate. Now let's address gaslighting, one of the most destabilizing forms of manipulation. When someone tries to manipulate you, your instinct is to point the finger. You say, you always do this, or you're lying. This is a trap. It gives them the chance to play the victim. Instead, use assertive communication theory. Focus on objective observations. Example, scenario. A coworker forgets. They agreed to finish a report, leaving it on your desk at 4 p.m. What to say? I noticed the report was left on my desk this afternoon. I recall our check-in on Tuesday where we agreed this was your lead. I won't be able to take this on today, but I'm happy to look at the final version tomorrow morning once you've completed it. Notice you didn't call them a liar. You stated a fact, cited a specific event, and set a hard boundary. Gaslighting is one of the most toxic forms of manipulation. It sounds like, I never said that, or you're being too sensitive. To shut this down, you must refuse to debate your reality. Do not try to prove you are right. Your goal here is not to convince them. Your goal is to anchor to facts. Use these wall phrases. Here's what to say. My understanding is different. Here's what I documented. Or, let's align on next steps going forward. This shifts the interaction from memory to structure. We clearly have different recollections of that meeting. Moving forward, let's keep our agreements in writing to avoid this confusion. My feelings on this matter aren't up for debate, but the project timeline is. Let's focus on that. I'm not comfortable with how this conversation is going. Let's pick this up when we can stick to the data. By saying, let's keep it in writing, you are effectively putting a leash on the manipulator. Manipulators hate a paper trail. Manipulators often use pestering or emotional appeals to get you to say yes. They might say, but I'm so stressed, or you're the only one who is good at this. In clinical psychology, the broken record technique involves calmly repeating your boundary without offering new explanations. The more you explain, the more hooks you give them to pull on. Example. Scenario. They want you to cover their shift for the third time this month. Them. Can you cover for me? I'm just so overwhelmed. You. I understand you're busy, but I'm not available to cover any more shifts this month. Them. But you did it for Sarah. Why can't you help me? You. I hear you, but as I said, I'm not available to take on extra shifts right now. Don't defend, don't explain, just repeat. Now let's talk about triangulation. When a coworker uses other people or leadership to pressure you. For example, leadership is concerned about this, or everyone else already agreed. Instead of defending yourself, say, I'm happy to discuss this directly with leadership, or I'll wait to hear that directly. Evidence from organizational behavior research shows that indirect pressure collapses when you redirect communication to the source. Manipulators dislike transparency. Now let's talk about boundary erosion, when small asks turn into big expectations. This often starts with, can you just help really quickly? Here's a powerful phrase. Can you clarify the scope and timeline? If it's outside your role, that falls outside my responsibilities. If they frame it as just this once, you say, I'm not able to make exceptions. This is critical. Research on boundary setting shows that inconsistency, not firmness, is what invites continued pressure. Now let's address something important, especially for women. You may worry that being direct will make you seem cold, difficult, or uncooperative. But studies on leadership perception show that calm, concise boundaries actually increase perceptions of competence and authority when delivered without apology. The key is tone, not defensive, not sharp, just steady. Dealing with a manipulative coworker is an endurance sport. It's about being the most boring target possible. In psychology, this is called the gray rock method. By being stable, predictable, and strictly professional, you become unmanipulatable. Remember, you are not responsible for their emotions or their workload. You are responsible for your boundaries. Start using one of these phrases tomorrow. Even a small shift in how you respond can change the power dynamic of your office. Make sure to like, subscribe, and grab my free leadership workbook, 5 Steps to Communicate with Calm, Clarity, and Confidence at powerofpeacefulness.com. Until next time, take a deep breath. Embrace the present moment and keep walking your path to peace.